Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers, FantasyGuru.com. You ready to rock and roll today? It's a Wednesday, so we're talking baseball at the start for about a half hour. And then we're talking football for about a half hour with Armando Marsal. So get the popcorn ready. It's kind of early for that, but hey, maybe that's your thing. Get the popcorn ready. Get the coffee ready. That might be more appropriate. We're going to be with you for about the next hour here, having some fun. I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. This is Fantasy Sports Daily. You can see us every day here on YouTube at youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. You can watch us live on Facebook at facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. You can find us on Twitter X live every day at Fantasy Guru site. You can find us stored over at the website, fantasyguru.com. Click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. And you can also find us, at your podcast network, whether that's Pandora or Spotify or YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts. You'll pick up your iTunes account, type in Fantasy Sports Daily. You should be able to find us. So hopefully you can partake in the Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time show here from FantasyGuru.com. I'm Ray Flowers. Again, you can find me at the site and obviously on Twitter, X, Instagram, all those places at The Ray Flowers. We will be visiting with Armando Marsal in about a half hour. Here's the plan for today. We're going to talk what happened to George Kirby. What happened to George Kirby? Matthew Boyd came out of nowhere to have a good effort. Zebby Matthews, who we've written about over at FantasyGuru.com. We'll talk about him. Trevor Ryan should be Trevor Rogers. Sorry. It's early in the morning. Sometimes you mistype. Ryan McMahon, Luis Robert, Juan Soto, Will Smith, Shea Langeliers, Jake Rogers, who did a lot of that damage. Kerry Carpenter, who we just talked about. Welcome back, Kerry Carpenter. And then Tyler Black returning to the big leagues with the Milwaukee Brewers. Some bad news for Jazz Chisholm, Yoshinobu, Ranger Suarez, Justin Verlander, Ketel, Marte, and Triston Casas. All of those guys will talk about their health scenarios. And then when Armando joins us, we'll continue to talk about this Brandon Aiyuk situation. What the hell's going on? Malik Nabors got an injury. Does it matter? Marquise Brown's got an injury. Does it matter? Does that mean Xavier Worthy's now worthy of more attention? God, I can't believe I just did that. Jahmyr Gibbs, J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold, Jalen Brooks, and Tim Patrick. So lots to talk about there. Before we get to any of that, I mentioned this yesterday, and I kind of flew past it. So let's hit it more directly real quickly here. We got a big thing going on over at FantasyGuru.com. And for those of you that have the ability to watch, you can see this. We got our third annual Fantasy Guru training camp day. That's on Friday. This Friday, the 16th. You go to FantasyGuru.com, go to the subscribe tab at the top. It takes you to that page. Scroll down. You can add the training camp to your product if you don't already have it with us at FantasyGuru.com. It's 12 hours of interactive content from us. And you can see there the rough schedule is, apt to change. But right now we got Rob Brink talking betting strategies. Phil Backer talking IDP. These are all hour-long conversations. Tyler Beaker talking best ball strategies. Then we're going to have a little bit of a break for lunch from 12 to 1. And then start back up at 1 o'clock. Armando Marsal, you'll see on with us later here, talking lead setups and roster construction. Justin Fensterman will talk about auction drafting. I've got something. I'm going to kind of do everything. I'm kind of putting it all together right now. I'll have and by the way, these will all be done live. They'll all be stored on the site so you can watch if you can't see it live. PowerPoint presentation, so we'll make it nice and fancy. I'll be on at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Russell Clay will talk Dynasty League strategies. Rich Miletto using the waiver wire and in-season strategies. Chris Rose, intro to daily fantasy football. Scott Bonder, Chris Rose, Mike Sillo, talking college football for those of you involved in college football. And then Mans and Schuster with their Q&A at 8 o'clock, about an hour of that, direct Q&A. We'll have Q&A throughout all the shows. So anytime any of us give a presentation, you'll have the ability to ask questions, leave comments, just like we do here on the show every day with YouTube. So same setup there. And then after that, there's an 11 p.m. Eastern time poker tournament. So if you want to play a poker tournament, you're invited to that. That poker tournament obviously has prizes you can see there on the screen. And you also get entry into the Elite Mafia Fantasy Football Challenge. So you get a ticket to take us all on. So again, go to FantasyGuru.com, click the subscribe tab on the top of the page, scroll down a little bit. It's on the left-hand side there when you scroll down, and join us for an entire day of presentations, an entire day of football talk, an entire day of fun, a poker tournament, and the ability to play us all season long in fantasy football leagues. Okay. I just made myself little. Let's make myself bigger. There we go. George Kirby gave up 11 runs. They were 11 earned runs. The sky was falling. Now, after the game, or late in the game, there was a scoring change. So a fourth inning single, there was an error. A fourth inning single was changed to an error, excuse me. As a result of that, the 11 earned runs became 6. So what would have been the first effort this season of 11 earned runs allowed in all of baseball ended up being 6. Whew. Not that 6 is good, but of course that's nearly half. And, that is a significant improvement on what it could have been. The fact is that, if you looked at a little bit deeper in Kirby's effort, 4 of the 13 hits, that he gave up were under 80 miles an hour. So people weren't scalding the baseball. The grand slam off Jake Rogers, we'll talk about in a bit, that would have been a home run in 8 of 30 ballparks. So in over 2/3 of the parks, wouldn't even have been a home run. So yeah, it was terrible. But looking a little bit deeper, it's not as bad as it looked. Again, the official score helped us out here, turned that from 11 to a 6. I don't think we should have any outright panic with George Kirby. Almost every guy in baseball has an outing or two like this. 6 runs, not 11. They have outings like this all the time. It's just how the nature of the game is. And luckily for Kirby, we had a friendly scorekeeper, and we also had some batted ball information that said it wasn't as bad as it was. So maintain the faith. I'd be starting him next time out unless we hear of some hidden injury that is not expected to occur. It was a one-off. It was terrible. Move on. George Kirby's been terrific this year after that slow start. Now, Matthew Boyd, out of nowhere, he's been coming back, performed very well down in the minor leagues. Got an opportunity yesterday to face the Cubs. 6 strikeouts, 3 hits, 5 1/3 innings, pitched really well. The velocity was a little bit higher than it was last season. He had a 39% CSW, which is an excellent mark. 30% is really good. 39% is great. He was on it. And, at this point of the season, we talk about it every day here on the show. Having a guy that can give you 5 solid innings is worth something. So Matthew Boyd becomes interesting. Now, the problem is his next outing is against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, if he stays on track here. That's not good. You don't want to pitch him there. I don't think you do. I wouldn't want to pitch him there. So it's one of those things, if you make the move now, it's a longer-term move because the next outing, again, is just not a palatable one. But worst case scenario, we put him on a watch list, continue to monitor him. Really impressive first outing, again, on the heels of some strong minor league work. Maybe he can be somebody that helps us out down the stretch. Zebby Matthews, who we profiled over at fantasyguru.com in a Raised Ramblings piece the other day. In his first start, he had 5 strikeouts, gave up a couple of runs against the Royals, pitched very effectively. As advertised, had good control, didn't walk anybody. Rangers on Sunday are his next turn in the rotation. If he sticks in the rotation, Louis Varland was returned. He's going to make a start again for the Twins. The Twins seemingly will have Matthews be in the rotation. Seemingly, right? That's what we think. Again, more information on him in the article over at fantasyguru.com. More detail there, but pitched very well, looked as advertised, and that's intriguing. And the Rangers, for all the talent they have not been an offense to fear in 2024. Trevor Rogers, who we talked about when he went to the Orioles, we kind of all said, everyone in the baseball universe kind of said, what are you doing, Orioles? And we said the same thing here. And we commented on the fact that, Rogers is perfectly acceptable and all that. Not a difference maker, not a guy that's going to be pitching in the playoffs. Well, since he's gone to the Orioles, it's been worse than that. Whereas with the Marlins, he was pitching effectively and not getting wins. Now he's with the Orioles and he's just not effective. He gave up 5 runs yesterday in 5 innings to the Nationals. That's a team he should have success against. That's 12 runs and 20 hits in 14 1/3 innings with the Orioles, which is terrible work. His fastball velocity was down 2 miles an hour. His fastball's not a good pitch. Everyone knows that. They pulled back on its usage, smart, but it's down 2 miles an hour. So I don't know if he's just wearing down. I don't know if it's pressure. I don't know if it's lifestyle change. I don't know if it's a regression to the mean. I don't know exactly what's going on here. But what I do know is that, he was never going to be a star with the Orioles. I hope everyone kept that in perspective if they went and added him when the trade happened. He's starting against Boston next time through the rotation. You're not starting him against the Red Sox. So absolve yourself of that concern. Trevor Rogers was, and hopes to be a streaming option in mixed leagues. Let's talk about some of the hitters. Ryan McMahon had 4 strikeouts last night against the Diamondbacks. That's 2 golden sombreros, which are 4 strikeout games in a week, actually in 4 days. Since the All-Star break, he's hitting 127 with a 530 OPS. And every month this season, and this is not easy to do, though, to his credit, he did have an 892 OPS in April. Every month of the season, his OPS has gone down. And right now, again, his OPS is 500 or whatever the hell it is for August. This is not ideal. And the interesting thing with him, there's a couple interesting things with McMahon. First off, with McMahon, I feel like I've always been right about Ryan McMahon in the sense that everyone said, yeah, he's pretty good in Coors Field. Well, I never thought he was pretty good. I thought he was very average. And I thought, okay, Coors Field. Interestingly enough, he's been about the same hitter on the road as he has been at Coors this year. So there hasn't been much of a benefit there. His exit velocity is top 7% in baseball. His hard hit rate's top 7% in baseball. Like, he hits the ball hard. That's good to see. Problem is, he just isn't doing anything. He's hitting 248, which is 3 points off his average the last 2 years. His 417 slugging percentage is a couple of points down off the last 2 years. His 756 OPS is like 10 points above the last 2 years. Nothing has changed with Ryan McMahon. He's the same guy. And what is that? That's a useful piece in the fantasy game, and that's about it. It's just not, and after that start to the year where the numbers were good and the batted ball data that we just talked about was really good, it's like, okay, maybe this is the year it's 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. Maybe this is the year it's 290. No, it's just not happening. And at this point of his career, he's 30 years old now, 29 years old. Don't anticipate it happening. So he's he's almost an impossible start right now. He's becoming a rough own in leagues that aren't deep because, again, the OPS is down every month. And for the last 2 months prior to August, he's basically been league average, and right now he's not even that. Now, Luis Robert went for 4 yesterday, and, I was looking at Luis Robert yesterday. I tweeted this out again. It's at the Ray Flowers. Luis Robert, when game action started yesterday, and I know there's been a lot of ups and downs with this team. There's been a lot of ups and downs with Roberts. He's dealt with injury, been out of the lineup, all that kind of stuff. He was hitting 198 when game action started yesterday. Going 1 for 4 yesterday pushed him to 199. He's hitting 199. Let me repeat that. He is hitting 199. Last year, he batted 264. This year, his on-base percentage is 262. 2021, his on-base percentage was 378. This year, his slugging percentage is 394. This is awful. His OPS is down 200 points from last year. 200 points. His strikeout rate from last year to this year is up 8%, and it's catastrophically bad at 37%. He is earning all of this right now, which is disturbing. Now, he's got 12 home runs and 17 steals in 64 games, right? So this is very much the Randy Arozarena effect from earlier in the year where I was saying, look, he's still on pace to go 20. His current pace over a full season of games is 30-40 for Robert, right? So, but he's hitting 199 with a 260 on base percentage and that catastrophic strikeout rate. This is just, I really hesitate to tell anyone to just flat out bench him because we know this. We've seen it with him. He's very streaky. He could have 2 home runs in any game. He could have 6 RBIs in 3 games. Like, these things happen with him. But he's got, 3 hits in 10 games. He's just not, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. And if you look at the batted ball data, the exit velocity's fine, the barrel rate's fine, the hard hit rate's fine, the launch angle's fine. There's regression positively coming here. There's no doubt about that. He's too talented, and the data obviously supports it as well. But yikes. It's just Funk City. And, with the way this has gone, with the rumors about where they trade Robert or not, with the catastrophic nature of the team, with the fact that he's been in and out of the lineup with health, I think we have to give legitimate concern, or at least legitimate opportunity to the question of, does this guy play in September? And if he does, what does it look like? This is rough. You got to keep going. You got to keep rolling him. I'm a fan of keep rolling him. Now, again, I'm in a 15-team league, 14-team league with 5 outfielder spots. If you're in a 10-team league with 3 outfield spots, you don't have to keep rolling Luis Robert out there right now. And that's not something that anyone, including myself, anticipated saying this year. Juan Soto went 3 or 4 last night. he's damn good. And I just wanted to highlight it because, again, what am I going to say about Juan Soto that you don't already know? When I say he's good, you know that. Juan Soto is 25 years old. He went 3 for 4 last night with 3 home runs. That's 5 home runs, 5 in 2 games. And he's already hitting 300 with 33 home runs and 100 runs scored. And he's already got 86 RBIs as well. So he's got a chance to go 30, 100, 100, while batting 300. In fact, there's a likelihood that occurs. He's got a chance for 40 home runs for the first time. He's got a chance to set his career best in runs scored, which is 111. Like, he's likely to do this. His on-base percentage is .434. His slugging is .608. His OPS is 1,042. His OPS is almost 400 points higher than Luis Robert. If you took his on-base percentage out of the mix, he would only be 50 points behind Luis Robert in OPS. Woo. Just a shout out to Soto, who is not just great, he's historically great. And, COVID got in the way of this. Some contract stuff got in the way of this. And, his numbers right now are they're not quite there because his batting average is lower than some of the all-time grades. But his slash line and his OPS, this is Ted Williams kind of stuff. Minus 35 points, 40 points, 50 points in batting average, which, again, doesn't make him Ted Williams. But the on-base percentage, the slugging percentage, the OPS, they're very similar. And when you talk about a player who's not even 26, it is possible, I'm not saying it's likely, but it's possible that he even improves on this. So even if it's not Ted Williams, this is Albert Pujols. This guy's on a Hall of Fame trajectory, and there is no reason to think that's going to change anytime soon. It will be fascinating to see where he ends up because he is a free agent, right? Does he leave New York? Hitting in front of Aaron Judge? We'll see. Juan Soto, fantastic baseball player. Will Smith, who has hit 2 straight games now for the Dodgers since the return to Mookie Betts. And, it's a little concerning. Let's be honest about it. It is a little concerning, but it's still 6 and a good lineup for the Dodgers. He went 3 for 4 last night with the home run. He has been in a funk. We wrote about him the other day over at fantasyguru.com when I was talking catchers. He's been in a funk, but he is too good, too effective, too stable to have that funk continue. Again, hitting, second or fourth versus 6th is a difference. He's still going to play most days. He's lost the ability to DH, though, because of the situation with, Shohei Ohtani. So that's cost him some at-bats relative to the field of the catcher spot. Still one of the best going. Let's hope that home run last night, double, 3 hits, gets him going. Batting 6, maybe there's a little less pressure on him there at that point. I would anticipate a strong finish from him, though it has been a rough period of going here. Let's keep a watch on that batting order, too, with the Dodgers, because remember, they're also going to be welcoming back soon Max Muncy and maybe Tommy Edman. So where does Will Smith end up? We'll have to keep our eyes on that. Shea Langeliers went 4 for 4, another catcher. 4 for 4 last night with the home run, 2 doubles, 4 RBIs. He fell a triple short of the cycle. And Langeliers was somebody that, everyone kind of talked about. And I'm going to say at some point I said, if we're going to dream, Shea Langeliers could hit 30 home runs this year. Now, I also said that about Nelson Velasquez. So let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I'm not always on that. But Langeliers up 22 home runs, tying his mark from last season. He has 61 RBIs, which is 2 less than his mark from last season. Despite having 104 fewer plate appearances, he has the same RBI and home run totals, basically. Pretty damn good. Now, he's only hitting .226, and he's not a batting average guy. He's not fleet of foot. Beyond the fleet of foot thing, he's got a high fly ball rate. It's 45% this year, so a lot of these things going in the air. He just doesn't hit the ball on the ground, and he's not going to beat it out. So, a 250 batting average is probably tops for him. He's hitting .226. Could he sustain that? Yeah. He's basically Cal Raleigh. And on draft day, Cal Raleigh was a top 5 catcher in a lot of leagues, and Shea Langeliers was catcher 19 or 23 or whatever. He wasn't drafted, right, if you have a single catcher league. So what he's done this year has been really impressive. And I think, interestingly enough, too, and this is something that we've highlighted many times in the Cash Game Breakdown over at fantasyguru.com, the DFS article that I write 4 times a week, his production against lefties is okay. He's actually a little bit better against righties. He's got 17 of his home runs against right-handed pitching, and he's hitting 229 against righties. So he's one of these guys with reverse splits. So do some digging there with some of these guys, especially deeper, then you find out that sometimes it's not the obvious lefty-righty thing. Shea Langeliers has been really good. He's been very effective. He has exceeded expectations. And with a strong push here down the stretch, it is still possible he hits 30 home runs. 25 seems pretty damn likely for the catcher of the Athletics. Jake Rogers, another catcher, of course. Jake Rogers hit that grand slam that we referenced earlier. It's the first 7 RBI game for a Tiger since Ryan Rayburn back in 2007 had 7 RBIs. The first 7 RBI game for a catcher since Elias Diaz back in September of 2022. Jake Rogers had a hell of a day. Good for him. Doesn't really matter. I mean, on the year, he's hitting 200 with 9 home runs. He is Shea Langeliers light and really light. Like, I'm drawing a parallel, but it's very loose. He's batting 200 with a 250 on base percentage, a 380 slugging percentage. His strikeout rate is higher than Langeliers. It's over 30%. That's the 4th straight year that mark looks like it's going to be over that mark of 30%. He's a career 204 hitter, batting 200. The batted ball data looks eerily similar to last season. He did hit 21 home runs last year. This year only has 9. One of the main reasons, the main drivers for that is a home run to fly ball ratio that's gone from 23% to 14%. So maybe he sees a little bit of an increase there. His career number's about 19%. Maybe that number goes up a little bit. Maybe he plays enough to get to 14 home runs, 15 home runs, maybe. But even if that's the case, he's a very limited player because he's not stealing bases. He's not a run producer. The batting average is not good. And the outlook is generally very blah with Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers. Kerry Carpenter, his teammate, who we just talked about. Just went through Kerry Carpenter on the show. He was not going to be denied when the team scored 15 runs yesterday. He had 2 home runs. And that's 10 home runs, a 960 OPS in 51 games. And as we talked about yesterday, it's like, look, he can hit. And we saw it yesterday. Now, the problem is if you didn't make the move yesterday when we talked about Kerry Carpenter, everyone in the world's now, if you have open waivers, right? If I say go get him right now, is he even on waivers? For those of you on the weekend, the price will go up. Obviously, a fab and waiver priority if he continues to hit. But he's long been a favorite of mine. And we're seeing him produce immediately upon his return. And that's going to get a lot of people excited about what could be a strong finish for him. Let's hope that's the case. Kerry Carpenter. Let's see, by the way, as I'm looking at my Dynasty League team here, Kerry Carpenter, it's on my team, right? Am I having a... No, he is on my team. Okay, good. Because, sometimes you have these situations where you have players on all kinds of teams, right? And you forget who is who and where and what and, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just making an adjustment here to my lineup so that I don't forget because I'm doing a lot of things. And since I'm looking at it, I might as well get it going right now. But yeah, Kerry Carpenter back and blasting away for the Tigers, which is really good news, obviously, for that ball club. All right. Now some bad news. And this is a little concerning, and it could end up being a lot concerning. Let me do a quick search here. I did not see anything this morning. Let me do a quick search to see if anything has popped. Let's see here. Jazz Chisholm, we've probably heard by now, has got the elbow issue. He's likely headed to the injured list. They are still running tests and trying to determine the severity of yeah, okay. So haven't seen anything pop lit. There's no definitive here. He hurt himself, and they're gathering information. Andy Martino's got a report from this morning. Doctors still in the process of gathering information to determine if Jazz Chisholm will need UCL surgery. This is bad. And, it's really unfortunate because he's been so effective this season. I'm just watching the play again as he slides into the plate and hurt himself. He's been so effective. He's been a borderline fantasy star, if not an outright star, since joining the Yankees. And he's the 2020 guy. We know that. He's a 30-30 potential player. The UCL situation could result in surgery. The fact that they're gathering information, it's not looking great. So hopefully you didn't, I was just saying this with Phil Bagger to say, hopefully you didn't spend all your fab on him in an AL-only league because that's not looking good. And we'll wait for information. We'll have it, I would assume, today. But fingers crossed the Jazz Chisholm season isn't over. It's certainly in the realm of possibilities at the moment. Yoshinobu Yamamoto threw a 40-pitch bullpen session yesterday. Yamamoto's going to travel with the club this week. He's going to throw a 2-inning simulated game on Friday. If that goes well, he'll go out on a minor league rehab stint. He's coming back from that rotator cuff strain that he's been out since mid-June. Hitting all the bumps. Not hitting any bumps, rolling through everything, hitting all the checkpoints is Yamamoto. I think we're still looking at him like right at the end of August, right at the start. Where are we at? August. Let's back that up. Let's say, he's going to have to make at least 3 or 4 starts, right? First week of September in the best case scenario. I think we're trending toward that. We'll see if it comes together. Remember, the team and Yamamoto, everyone is saying he's going to pitch again this season, so that's the expectation at this point. Ranger Suarez out with the back issue through 2 simulated innings on Tuesday. He's going to face more batters on the weekend. There is not clarity at the moment on whether or not that's going to be a simulated game or he's going to go out on a minor league rehab assignment. Next week, at the weekend next week, something like that, he might be back. He's been out since July, since the lower back soreness. He showed some signs of slippage based upon his elite work early in the year, and it's just another reminder of how hard it is to make 30 starts effectively at the big league level. But Suarez is trending. We'll hope 10 days from now that he's back at the big leagues. We'll see how that plays out for the lefty of the Phillies. Justin Verlander, who was supposed to be back a long time ago, as we've discussed many times, on Saturday, he threw 52 pitches, 36 of them were strikes down at AAA. They're building up his pitch count, so he's going to make another start down there on the farm tomorrow. This one will be at AA, Corpus Christi. If that goes well, maybe he's back in his next start at the big leagues. I could see them with another start after that. Let's call it 2 weeks with Justin Verlander, kind of as a guesstimate as to when we might see him again on the field. I'll go 2 weeks with Justin Verlander as he's coming back from that neck injury that's taken forever to come back from. Ketel Marte's had that ankle issue. They was supposed to be okay, and then he retweaked it. We talked about it here on the show. I think it was yesterday. According to the manager, Torey Lovullo, it's a minor sprain. So the expectation right now is that he will avoid the injured list. That is not to say that Marte will play the next day or two. They might leave him out of the lineup a couple of days just to give him a little bit of rest. But they're not anticipating an IL stint at this point in time. We hear that a lot, and the IL stint still comes. But it's good to hear that with Ketel Marte. Triston Casas had a home run last night, had a couple of base hits. He's coming back from that rib issue that he's dealt with. He's expected to return to the lineup for the Red Sox later this week. So on the weekend, that's kind of what we're anticipating, Friday, Saturday, something like that. We'll see if it comes together. Casas obviously was really good last season after a little bit of a slow start. He could be a significant offensive force down the stretch. There have been reports that still suggest, physically he may not be at 100%. He's still talking about it hurting a little bit and all this kind of stuff. So we'll see where he ends up in terms of his value the next 6 weeks here. But it looks like he'll return on the weekend. He absolutely is somebody that if you're looking for a boost at the corner infield spot, he's worth your time. His ability to drive the baseball, his ability to work the count. Obviously, Fenway helps. Obviously, being in that Red Sox lineup helps. This could be another one of those players, kind of like we were just talking about with Kerry Carpenter. Another one of the guys that we've seen have success at the big league level previously, but who right now have kind of disappeared because of injury. But down the stretch, these final 6 weeks, might be players that we could utilize on a daily basis to help us have some success in that fantasy space. All right. Ray Flowers here, fantasyguru.com. This is Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. I always get that mixed up because one's a.m., one's p.m. I don't know. This time change thing, it's always difficult. Armando Marsal's on the wrong coast, which is the East Coast. I'm on the right coast, which is the West Coast. So we've got a 3-hour time difference here. But most of the time, we hook up at the right time on a Wednesday to have a discussion about some football. And I think that right time is pretty much right now. So let's talk with Armando of fantasyguru.com. Look, he's even got the shirt going. How you doing today, Armando?
I'm doing well, Ray. Excited to be on here talking football, man. Like I always say, one of my favorite days of the week, one of my favorite times of the day. So get to talk a lot of football. Lots of news to kind of discuss here today. So looking forward to that here.
Is that shirt gray or like light blue? It's a little hard to tell.
No, it's a light blue. It's a light blue. Yeah. It's vintage.
It's vintage. Nice. Yeah,
it's vintage blue.
They're very, and I will say this too, because I have my Oracle t-shirt. They're very soft.
Super soft.
And I'm not just saying that. Like they really are. So, you can always get those over at fantasyguru.com, folks. They're pretty good stuff.
I actually I thought to myself, I'm like, wait, did I wear this same shirt last week? Because I'm wearing this like almost every day in this house. I love it. It's super comfortable. So yeah, I agree, Ray. It's like one of those just walk around for anywhere really with it.
See,
there it is.
that's because for those of you that don't know, that's my nickname, the Oracle, the baseball, the gnome. I have gnomes in the house, so that's a picture of my gnome shirt. But yeah, my lady's got a couple of the older ones too. She still wears them to bed because they're nice and soft. So yeah, some shirts are, and she says this too. To me, like a t-shirt's kind of a t-shirt. I'm not a big, but to some people they really like that soft touch. We've got the good soft touch shirts. So
yeah,
if you're interested,
I could not agree more.
Yeah, if you're interested, fantasyguru.com. All right, Armando, let's talk some football here. We got you here. You can find, by the way, Armando's podcast, just like you can find this podcast. If you go to fantasyguru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top. You'll see all the podcasts we have. His is Mind of Marsal. This is obviously Fantasy Sports Daily. He's with us every Wednesday. Tyler Beaker's on Thursdays. Russell Clay is on Fridays. Let's dive into the I guess the biggest story, or I don't know if it's the biggest story. I'm going to call it the biggest story. The biggest story in football right now with Brandon Aiyuk. And we were talking yesterday and we were like, okay, they're going to have some information here. We're going to be done with this. We're still not done with this. Now we're hearing, which we thought yesterday was a slam dunk, he's going to the Steelers. Now we're hearing he's close to signing an extension with the Niners. I don't know what the hell's going on with Brandon Aiyuk. So we've talked about this before. Let's talk about it again. What's his value if he's with the Niners? What's his value with the Steelers? And he is somebody you're in on or out on because of all the nonsense.
So I've currently just left them exactly where I've had them all off-season in the rankings. I have him wide receiver 12. That's very aggressive. You could maybe say wide receiver 15, 16, 17, that range where a lot of people are taking him. If he's with the 49ers, I view him as such a top 12 potential receiver here, someone who has a lot of volume, someone who's going to get a lot of opportunities. He knows his offense. We know how to utilize him here. So someone who I think we haven't seen his best season yet, right, if he stays with the 49ers. Now, if he does end up with the Steelers, I think those are really right now, what we've seen, what we've heard, what we've read, that's kind of where the two options are. It's either going to be San Francisco or it's going to be Pittsburgh. I think if he goes to Pittsburgh, I'm still going to be drafting him, but I'll probably view him more as a, maybe low-end wide receiver 2 instead of, or mid wide receiver 2 instead of the, low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 where I have him right now. So that would be my adjustment with it, adjust him down to wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4. I think he'll cut into Pickens. I think you're also going to have to lower Pickens a little bit on the rankings if Aiyuk goes there. But look, I read yesterday, and this when you sent me the sheet, I was like, I was reading about it, and it's like, it looks like he's just kind of playing here, like with the 49ers, and it's like he's just trying to use leverage to get more money, and it kind of works. I think they're going to offer him something. I think he's going to stay. I just want this to be over with, right? Like, I hate these situations that linger. I'm not a fan of these things. It's just, look, you want to win and you want to get paid. I think that he meet in the middle, right? Like, meet in the middle, try to, make it work for both of you. Because he also has to think about the teammates, and they also have other players that they have to sign. And if he wants to win, those players need to be part of that team as well. So I think, just meet somewhere in the middle. I'm still hopeful it gets done. I've been saying this all along. I'm hopeful it gets done. It got messy. It didn't look good at times, but I think now we're kind of, getting closer to the end of the tunnel here, and we'll see something done very soon. And I ultimately think he stays with San Francisco.
Chase Lamb. It's always the wide receivers. Always the wide receivers, folks. I don't know what that's about. Speaking of wide receivers, Malik Nabors tweaked his ankle. Everyone got nervous. Then we got a report. Hey, everything's okay. Calm down. Is this an overreaction? Does it matter? Did you change his ranking at all with this news? Because, again, 15 years ago, we probably don't even hear about this. We'll hear in week 3, oh, yeah, he tweaked his ankle in the preseason. Now we hear it immediately. Any concern, any change with Malik Nabors of the Giants?
No, none whatsoever. I've actually taken advantage. I've seen him drop a couple picks, not many, in some of the drafters' best ball drafts that I've been in. And I'm like, okay, so people are reacting to it. Very little, not much. He's not dropping around or anything, but seen him drop a couple of picks in recent drafts, so I'm not concerned. I think he'll be all right. Everything I've read so far is he could be out there if he wanted to. I think they're just kind of taking precaution here, with their obviously star receiver there. So no, I think he'll be fine.
Okay. Armando Marsal, Ray Flowers here. Marquise Brown hurt his shoulder. We know that. The estimates are 4 to 6 weeks right now. We kind of finally got that information with the speedy, diminutive receiver of the Chiefs. Have to change your thoughts on Brown, even if it's just a little bit. How much are we changing our thoughts with Brown? And the obvious pivot everyone's going to say is Xavier Worthy. Does it change your thoughts on Worthy as well?
So I'm definitely moving Brown a couple spots. I was taking him as a wide receiver 3 pretty comfortably. I no longer can do that. I think, when you look at these injuries, it's not only about how long he's going to miss. It's just when he gets back, it's going to take some time. This is a new team, new offense. new playbook for him. So I think it's going to, maybe take a couple of weeks before he gets going. So you have to add that in as well into your evaluation. So okay with taking him as a wide receiver 4 or 5, someone who, if you could, get and have on your bench and stash and afford to stash, very comfortable with that. As far as Worthy is concerned, I think his ADP is going to skyrocket now. I think it's going to go up. It's probably going to get too rich for my likings. So I'm probably not going to invest. I'm just going to invest in Rashee Rice. Like, I've been investing in him as well. I kind of started pivoting from Brown to Rice because of my exposure that I had to Brown in best ball drafts. So I think Rice, at this point, we've talked about it, and no news is good news. No news is good news. I think if they drop the bomb on us here later on, there's really not much we can do. But as of right now, I'd be surprised if he sees any kind of suspension at this point. I think if he does, it'll be 2025. I don't think it'll come this year. We've kind of seen these things before. We started that year with Kamara. So I think we could see something of that nature where he plays this season, and maybe next season is where he misses a couple of games. And even if he does miss some games this season, I'm not expecting a lengthy suspension. I would say 4 to 6 games max. I think 6 games is max. But again, I'm treating Rice as the guy, and we know how this offense works, right? Like, it's going to be Kelsey, it's going to be Rice, and then there's a big drop off, as far as consistent targets are concerned. And that's my concern with Worthy as well. I do like him. I do like his, the potential, but I don't think necessarily that just because this, Brown got injured, he's going to step into a million opportunities right away.
Armando, let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back of the Lions. Tweaked a hamstring, no big deal. Tweaked a hamstring apparently again. Still, they're saying really no big deal. But, you don't want to enter the season with a hamstring injury, right? We know how this can go. It can be really bad. It can be very detrimental, actually. And David P. was asking a question here. We'll get to the wide receiver part in a second. But he's, how do you evaluate is what he's asking. And that's what I'm going to ask you, too. How do you evaluate a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who we're drafting as a running back 1, but we know he's not at 100%, and that's usually not a good place to be when the football season starts.
No, absolutely not. And these are tricky injuries. You mentioned these soft tissue injuries. It's not only now. They can linger, and it could re-aggravate at any point if they don't heal properly. We see it so many times throughout the season with some of these players. So the way I would work this is you now have to make an adjustment, right? If you drafted Gibbs as your RB1, you probably weren't being aggressive with your RB2 or even RB3, during your draft. Maybe change that a little bit. Maybe become more aggressive. Maybe get your running back 2, sooner than you would have gotten. Maybe get a safer running back 2, a safer running back 3 than you would have got. I think handcuffing is very important. I think right now, I know Montgomery is not essentially, he's not a handcuff. He's a standalone running back. But if you draft Gibbs, maybe go out there and get David Montgomery around earlier. Either way, you could start both of these running backs. One could be your RB1, the other one could be your flex or even RB2. So those are the kind of measures I'd be taking right now. You might be just a little bit more aggressive with the position because these are tricky injuries. The same, McCaffrey, tricky injury. These are injuries that can linger, that could resurface at some point. And I am very hesitant to, draft these kind of players. I wouldn't go, if you have 3 drafts, I wouldn't take Gibbs in all 3 drafts. If you have the opportunity, I'd probably go in a different direction and maybe 1 or 2 of them. However, I'm not going to completely avoid the player. I'm just going to adjust my process and the way I approach these drafts and maybe be a little bit more aggressive at the running back position and not necessarily lean on Gibbs being my anchor early on in the season in case, he does, miss some time or he's not 100%. So those are the things that I would just adjust there with my drafting.
All right, Armando. David also says, players that are potentially holding out, like Chase and Lamb. We've got Michael, who's in the 12-team PPR nervous. He's nervous, 12-team PPR league. He's nervous about Chase and Lamb as well. He even asked the question, would 1-2 be too soon for St. Brown? I may go running back depending upon who goes number 1. And someone asked me this in Discord. You might have been tagged on it too. Like, if I say it this way, I am in the Flex League best ball draft. Yesterday, I took Ja'Marr Chase at 1. Okay, now whether that works out, we'll see, right? But I'm still okay with Chase and Lamb at the spots that we've had them all offseason. If the drafter isn't, if David isn't, if Michael isn't, and they wanted to go St. Brown, I got no problem with that. They wanted to go Bijan Robinson, I've got no problem with that. A lot of people are rigorous with their rankings, and you have to do 1, 2, 3. If you're taking a top 5 guy in the top 5 pick, I don't care if you take 5-1 or 1-5. It doesn't matter to me. Have you seen enough to be concerned about Chase and Lamb that you would consider dropping either one of them? And how do you feel about elevating St. Brown if those concerns are something that really stick with you?
So no, I've drawn the last 5 first overall picks I've drawn on Drafters Best Ball. I've taken either Chase or Lamb, and the only reason why I've taken Lamb ahead of Chase is just simply diversification in my portfolio. That's it. Like it's just, but I have them 1A, 1B really when you look at it. So no, I think St. Brown is in that right there, and right if he's not in that tier, he's literally just a slight under that. But I think you could make a case for him being in that tier. And if you feel safer about taking St. Brown, I'm not going to talk anyone out of it. We got this. I think we got asked this question yesterday on Discord. And I think Bijan and CMC were also options. And, for me, it's, Chase, Lamb, or CMC, whoever you want to take at first. I'm not going to make a strong case against any. And then, St. Brown, you got Hill, Bijan, all the very next guys. If you want to take Bijan or Brown ahead of the other 3 because of, either the injury or the contract concerns, I don't think it's a huge mistake. I don't think it's something that, it's going to come back and haunt you. I think all of these players are going to be, at the top of their position and are going to be playing for the top of their position, given, so long as they all stay healthy.
Another question. We're going out of order here. Usually we do the questions at the end, but they're all kind of dovetailing with what we're
talking
about.
Way.
Yeah. 10-team keeper league with 2 keepers. I have CeeDee Lamb in the 2nd and Chris Olave in the 3rd. Also Pacheco in the 8th. So Pacheco in the 8th, Olave in the 3rd, CeeDee Lamb in the 2nd. 10-team keeper. We need 2 of them. What say you, Armando?
All right, so I actually talked about this, deciding on keepers on my latest Mine and Marsal podcast because we got a lot of questions that, so this is one of those unique situations where this is a very difficult decision here. So 100% I'm locking in Lamb for the 2nd round. Like he's a top 3 player. So you're locking him for the 2nd round. You're not maybe getting a massive value. Now with Olave, you're getting a 1-round value. And, he's going in that 2nd round on average. In some instances, maybe in this 10-team league, maybe he might get to you in the third round. I don't know. Did they say where they're picking from, Ray?
I didn't see. No, that's all.
No?
What you see on the screen is all we've got.
Okay, because if you have an early 3rd round, so if you're in the front end of the draft, you have an early 3rd round, there's a good chance, not good. There's a chance that you might get Olave there in that 3rd. I doubt it, but there's a chance. Now, Pacheco, to me, it's 8th round, you said?
Yep.
That's too great of a value. I view him as a 3rd round value. I view him as a potential 2nd round value, really. Like, I wouldn't mind taking Pacheco. This is kind of what we talked about. We're reaching. I don't mind taking Pacheco there at the back end of the 2nd round. I have high expectations for him this year. So, you're getting 2 very good players that are similar in tier and similar in, where they're being drafted, but one, you're getting a much better value. That's what I'm going to go with here. So I'm going to go with Pacheco and I'm going to go with Lamb, but I don't think you could go wrong with either of these. But I did talk about this in depth about, deciding on keepers, because I think it's important. It's not just the value or where the pick is. It's so many things you have to take into consideration when you're deciding these keepers. So, but to answer the question, it is Lamb and Pacheco.
So go to fantasyguru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page, and you can find mine and Marsal right there. If you're not seeing it when he's posting it in Discord or whatever, or on Twitter at Armando_Marsal. Another question. Let's keep them going. Oh, by the way, before we get to the question, Jim C says, double dose of Ray and Armando. Just finished the podcast. Another great episode. So thanks, Jim. We appreciate that. Thank you. I am on with Jeff Mansley, the Elite Sports Shows on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio from 3 to 6, Monday through Friday. It's a Wednesday, so I'm on with him today. So thank you, Jim. But here's Jim's question, Armando. I like the salute too there, Armando. That was good. I'm in a crappy, which I like how he starts this. I'm in a crappy shallow bench league with 4 spots. The waivers are obviously deep in these cases. Do you recommend skipping handcuffs for your top back? Because this is, again, I think most leagues are 5 or 6 is kind of the standard. Some leagues, and I think many should be bigger than that. But 4 spots is tight. How do you handle it with the handcuff scenario for Jim here with 4 bench spots in his league, Armando?
This is very dependent, right? Like, are you holding a handcuff and there's a starting running back on waivers? Are you holding a handcuff and is there a wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 on waivers? So it very depends on who's out there. There's going to be good players out there, right? So I'm not going to hold someone who's not producing right now for someone who could come in and produce right now on my team. I probably will not do that. When we talk about handcuff, like you said, it's usually 6, 7, 8 bench spots. Like now we have a little, but I'm not going to leave a. Let's think of a running back here. I'm not going to leave a Tony Pollard on the waivers to handcuff, a running back, or I'm not going to leave Cortland Sutton on waivers, a wide receiver, 3, 4 that you can have on your team for a handcuff, those are the kind of players I probably would be aiming for. I probably could have given you a better running back than Tony Pollard, but that's just the first one that came to mind, But yeah, no, I would not, if there's those kind of players, I wouldn't do that.
We also have a question from David. He's asking me, when are you on training camp on Friday? I'm at 3 p.m. Eastern time. There I am. And Armando, if the schedule is correct, and Armando, correct me if it's wrong, it has you at 1 o'clock Eastern.
I'll be on at noon. That lunch break, that's going to be Armando. Then the 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. is the actual lunch break.
Oh, okay.
All right. So there was a slight change on that. But yeah, I'll be on right after Tyler at noon. So from noon to 1, I'll be on. We're talking league setups and things like that, roster construction. So it's
okay. Armando's noon to 1. I'm 3 to 4. So those are the Eastern times there for you. Yeah, David. All right. So there we go. Let's go back to, let me remove that since it's not accurate. Let's go back to the couple questions I had for you. JJ McCarthy's got the knee injury. I didn't see anything this morning. Maybe something's happened in the last 45 minutes. Do you see a definitive timeline for him yet, Armando?
No, so I checked. The last update I saw was 57 minutes ago, about an hour ago, and there's no definitive answer as far as depending on when they go in there, what they have to do. If it's a full repair, obviously it's, the entire season. Right. Otherwise, it's unknown.
So Sam Darnold's starting in week 1.
Yep.
Sam Darnold's likely to lead this team in starts based upon what we know right now. Even if McCarthy's not out all season, that's just the way things are going right now. Talk us through it. We've talked about it before, but we're getting closer, new audience, all that. What does this Vikings offense look like with Sam Darnold under center?
Yeah, I don't see it as a significant drop-off, right? Then I think we expected Sam Darnold to be the starter early on. Then you had a rookie coming in, and I like McCarthy. I think, the future's bright there for him, once he gets healthy and gets going. But I don't think we were supposed to expect fireworks from McCarthy, early on in his career or anything like that. So I don't think this does much for the offense. I know, I got asked the other day, do we downgrade Jefferson? No, I'm not downgrading Jefferson. I still think he's going to get an abundance of opportunities and an abundance of targets. We know TJ Hawkinson, so everything I've read, he's ahead of schedule. And he could be, he's not going to be ready for week 1, but he could be a couple of weeks after week 1 is what I last read. So there's some optimism surrounding him there. You got, obviously the backfield, new running back Aaron Jones, Jordan. There's a lot of weapons here for Sam Darnold. I'm still not comfortable taking Darnold as a QB1 or even a QB2 in Superflex leagues, but he's someone that if I take as a QB3 and plug and play, on a bye week or in case of an injury or in a bad matchup with my second quarterback, I could see him, produce some decent numbers there. I think this is a good situation for him. I don't think he's been in as good a situation since he's entered the NFL. So, perhaps he could maybe play at a decent level and see production here in this offense. But for me, Justin Jefferson, you're still taking him where he's going. He's going to get so many opportunities. And, I think he's, we've seen it before, right? DeAndre Hopkins did this. Like, even when the quarterback play wasn't elite or great, he still performed, some great numbers, and he still did some, produced some great numbers. So I think we're going to see that from Justin Jefferson. He's just a special talent, special receiver, and he's going to help, Sam Darnold more than Sam Darnold helps him.
Yeah, and I think Jefferson, we talked about him a little bit earlier, and this question came up a couple of times in Discord yesterday or maybe it was this morning. I was just getting to it late. People are concerned about Justin Jefferson. How far do I let Justin Jefferson fall? Do I draft it? I mean, this is, CeeDee Lamb's got some concerns because of the contract. Ja'Marr Chase has got some concerns because of the contract. Jefferson's got some concerns because of his quarterback. Like, you start going through these guys, it's like pick your poison. If you want to take Amon-Ra St. Brown, and we talked about, pick Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill can make 6 babies in the next 10 minutes. I don't know what that guy's doing. Like, is he your guy? Is A.J. Brown your guy? Is it Garrett Wilson? Like, if you don't want to take Justin Jefferson at the 5th pick, don't take him. Like, that's my advice. Now, if I'm sitting there and he's sitting there at the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th pick, I'm taking him.
Yeah.
That's me. And it sounds like you would too. But,
yeah,
I think people, to hit a point you made earlier, people have to, just because I have a guy ranked 4th and you've got him 5th or 5th and whatever, doesn't mean you have to take him at the 5th pick. I mean, you have to take the players that make you comfortable. It's your team. Don't take Justin Jefferson if you're worried about the quarterback and then bitch to us after 3 weeks if he has no touchdowns and he's caught 14 passes for 203 yards. Like, so Jefferson's still a top 10 overall player for you, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I was going to tell you, you can literally go from pick 1 through pick 12, right? And there's a red flag with each and every one. You mentioned the 3 receivers, CMC, injury, Puka Nacua, injury, Garrett Wilson, there's so much uncertainty with how Aaron Rodgers is going to return. If you're really paying attention, it doesn't look great. He does not look like, perfect there. There looks like, not the Rodgers of old. So, like, you could kind of go through each and every one of these players and make some, give a reason why maybe you shouldn't. But, and Hill, I don't know if I mentioned Hill was on and off the field a lot last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was on and off. I watched every single one of those games. He was on and off the field. He was not in every play. So it's just there's concerns with a little bit of everyone here.
David P has to follow up. You mentioned Hawkinson. When is Hawkinson due back? I don't think that we've gotten a definitive. This is the date he's going to be back. But
No.
while we were thinking second half of the season when this all started, we're now obviously thinking the first half of the season. Did you have anything more definitive than that, Armando?
No, exactly what you said. Like right now, it just looks like he'll be ready, closer to the, not the start, but before halfway through the season. So yeah, exactly what you said. There's nothing concrete as far as when he's returning.
Okay. Let's go to the situation with the Broncos because we spent a lot of time talking about who their quarterback is going to be. We talked about the backfield. We talked about Marvin Mims. We've talked about Cortland Sutton. Tim Patrick, and it's a preseason game, all right? But he played almost every snap with the first-team offense. There have been moments where he has been on the field an awful lot and, been the 2 or the 3. Where does he fit in this pecking order? We love Marvin Mims. Josh Reynolds is an established veteran. Troy Franklin, who has that connection with Bo Nix. Like, there's a lot of options here. Is Tim Patrick somebody that we should be caring about?
No, but this is one of those situations where you get the notes and you add it to the list of notes and you kind of monitor that situation in Denver. See if he can emerge. Look, at the end of the day, he's battled injuries throughout his career, right? Like, that's just been the issue, like staying on the field. But when he's actually played, he's actually been pretty solid. He's been a solid receiver. So if he can work his way up this depth chart, if he can start, producing kind of the same production that we saw when he was healthy, before all of these injuries, maybe he'll make a case for himself. Right now, I'm not doing anything with it. Before all of this, I have taken some really late darts in drafters, and that's just to get like a random receiver, like just in case kind of thing, not because of anything else. But this is definitely something you want to know. That's it. I wouldn't react to it. I wouldn't draft him in a redraft league. I wouldn't, add him to player pool or anything like that. It's just I'm taking notes. It's a piece of the puzzle. That's like we talk about all the time. It's a piece of the puzzle, and just kind of take a little note and keep an eye on that situation there in Denver.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Again, you can find his podcast over there, fantasyguru.com. Click the Elite Plus tab at the top. Scroll down. You can find him there. You can find him in Discord all the time. You can find him at 12 noon on training camp this Friday. Again, I'll be on at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Eastern time for Armando, obviously, as well. What are you working on article-wise? You still cranking out articles about rosters and construction and all that? You got something else coming down?
Yeah, so I posted we continued the league setups series this week. I got the tight end premium. I got the also did the 6-point versus 4. But we got a lot of those questions, so make sure all those questions are answered. We got the podcast coming up. Obviously, training camp. I'll have I'm gonna have a list of my player pool, my guys, that kind of my top guys I'm targeting. That'll come out soon. And then I got the drafters July, June ADP. And so I'm kind of working on a trend in ADP so everyone sees the movement in ADP for a lot of these players. That should be up at some point next week as well. So working on that now, right behind the scenes, good, nice illustrations and stuff like that of some ADP movement for drafters players. So keep an eye out for that one right there. And obviously the Mind of Marsal podcast each and every week.
Yeah, we've got Tyler Beaker coming on tomorrow, too. He wrote an article about ADP, looking at the differences in the various sites, which is a really interesting article. So we'll talk to him about that tomorrow. So we got the player breakdowns. We've got the rankings. We've got people like Armando and Tyler looking at which website are you on? What's the ADP look like? We've got all this information over at fantasyguru.com. Final question for you, Armando. You do the draft book. What is the draft book, and how often do you update it?
I was actually working on updates this morning. I have it open right here. The draft book is an auction draft book. It's basically my rankings, but it's in the form of an auction draft book. It has values, and it also goes by round, right? Like it gives a round value. It's basically a round value, dollar value, and it goes at pretty deep. So it goes all the way through. I think it's 16 rounds, but a lengthy list. So I have right now. I'll tell you right now. So 90 receivers. Okay. All right. So we got 90 receivers deep. And then as far as running backs are concerned, I have to scroll down. You know how this back end works here. It's a 78 right now. I removed 2, but I'm going to have it at 80. So it's 90 receivers, 80 running backs, a ton of quarterbacks, a ton of tight ends. We also has defense and kickers for those who are in leagues with defensive kickers. It has defensive kickers. But I'll be honest with you, I'm going to just share the secret. None of them are above $1. None of them are above $1 in value. All right, and none of them have a ranking higher than 15th round. All right, so keep that in mind. But yeah, it's basically my rankings is what it is, but it's in a different format than what you're seeing, like positional. And it does have values, it does have round value, and it is by position. But everyone in one sheet there.
He's Armando Marsal. He's with us every Wednesday. As you can tell, he's done a lot of things over at fantasyguru.com. That also includes the live stream on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock Eastern. So you can see him all over the place, hear him all over the place, and you can see him right here every Wednesday with us. Armando, thanks for your time today. We'll talk to you again soon, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for having me on. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. As we close things down here, Chris says, great show, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks for watching. Doug Montgomery earlier said, joyful day to you and everyone, Ray. Thank you, Doug. That's a very Armando Marsal-like sentiment, always wishing people well, whereas I'm always telling people to go to hell. We're very different when it comes to that. As you can see there on the screen, the NFL package is live over at fantasyguru.com. Click the subscribe tab at the top of the page. Get signed up for the seasonal package. Get signed up for the DFS package. Get signed up for the wagering package. Get all the packages. Add in the training camp that'll be on Friday where we got 12 hours of everyone talking all day long, giving presentations. That'll include the poker game at the end of the night. That'll include the ability for you to join us in leagues that will play against the staff all season long. So do that over at fantasyguru.com. You can always send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com. This is Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday here. Check us out, 12 noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, hosted by me, Ray Flowers. I want to thank Armando Marsal. I am Ray Flowers. This has been that show, Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.